Banshees of Inisherin. We talked about it a bit when I saw it back in the Toronto Film Festival, the latest from Martin McDonagh, which takes place on the fictional Irish island of Inisherin, following two friends, Padraig and Colm, played by Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, after one of them decides he doesn't want to be friends with the other one anymore. Art, have you ever broken up with a friend?
I feel like my breakups with friends as end up being a dissipating, just dwindling of less
Yeah.
talking and
Like, I
talking and
definitely
talking.
ghosted a dude in college.
Yeah, like I feel like that happens. I don't know if I've been the one to ghost a lot of people, but I feel it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't a ghost would be just boom, not talking to them immediately. I think it dissipates a little bit, and then the
Mm-hmm.
other friend tends to need a favor, and then they come back and they like DM you. But that's usually how it is. I don't think I ghost. I personally don't think I ghost too many people, but I do drag to respond to text. That is, I don't consider that
Is
ghosting,
is
but I
that
consider
why
it
my DMs
dragging
go
to
unanswered?
respond to text. It says seen and everything, but it just won't go. You're looking at the bubbles. Um, I can guarantee you though, it's never been to this extent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
this is
severed
a
fingers in your
no.
breakups. Not yet.
This is an interesting movie because we saw it with not as packed of a crowd as we did with Armageddon Time, but nonetheless there was several people there, several of the elderly folks who snuck in because you could tell they were just trying to see where the free seats were. They were feeling it by the end, so the freebies left, but anyone who
Hmm.
paid for a ticket did stay through it, and
Cool.
were probably there for their first Martin McDonagh movie. We have seen a couple of them. I know one of both of our favorites that made it all the way to the Oscars was Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Seven
Yep.
Psychopaths, personally, might be my favorite. I'm not saying it's his best.
Really?
I just think it's my favorite. And In
Over in
Bruges,
Bruges. Yeah.
which was the last one.
I
Don't get
love
me
in
wrong. I
Bruges.
rewatched them.
Hmm.
In Bruges is better than Banshees, bro. I don't know how to tell it to you. I've been hearing a lot of people compare these two together. It makes sense. Same
Yeah.
actors, director style. It's not even close, bro. I'm sorry. In Bruges is so
Really?
far ahead. Like I said, and I'm not saying that In Bruges isn't better than Seven Psychopaths. I personally really love Seven Psychopaths. Both are better than Banshees of Inisherin. And that's not a bad thing. Banshees of Inisherin is a very
Wow.
interesting movie where you have two fellows who live in probably the most beautiful coastal tiny town in the 1920s. I wanted
The
to go
Aran
to Ireland
Islands.
so bad after watching this.
Yeah.
This is my movie about two lifelong friends who decide to not hang out with each other anymore because one's a little too dull and the other one's like, I've been in so much despair that I don't want to waste another second with you. I'm a musician and I'd rather cut off my fingers than to spend another moment wasted with you, even though that would kind of like waste
Hmm.
his entire gift of whatever. This place looks so beautiful. I was wondering why he was depressed. All of the shots here made me wish that I had seen this in a wider theater. They get some astounding locations in this movie.
Hmm.
Even just a simple pass of being able to walk from point A to point B. There's a running gimmick about trying to hide from this like witch lady and how you're able to just like
Hmm.
turn around and hide in one of the walls of just the stone like walkways that they have through their roads. All the performances in here were hilarious. Personally, I found myself most attracted to the character of the sister just because she brought in
Yeah.
the most warmth. She brought in the most like level-headed
Carrie
discussion
Condon
because
as
you either
Siobhan.
fantastic. You either have these two
Yeah.
bozos going off of each other, not realizing that they're both just as simple, but they're like fighting with each other on who's more important, who's more nice. The townspeople were absolute morons, just trying to like get the least possible resistance from one another, or you have the other townspeople who are trying to get the most news or stories out of the other people. But for the most
Yeah.
part, the tones something that got me off guard because I already know the dynamic that he's bringing into this, the dryness, the comedy that's really very, very sad. And
Hmm.
it's kind of funny because of that. But then it gets a little too real and you stop laughing. He plays with that to a
That's
degree
what I
in
love about it,
Banshees
though.
that was so uncomfortable because I'm like, it's a funny moment, but it's so sad. Or
Yeah.
there's a moment that's so sad, and then you start finding it funny, and it's
Hmm.
disgusting how well he does it.
Yeah.
I do want to catch this one again because it's. I heard that he had written this years ago, and it was in revisiting it that he kept the initial part of the two friends deciding we're lifelong friends, no more, and then switched everything after the fact. Um,
Hmm.
and that's when I started reading into it because there was one specific sequence that happens between two characters where they bring up getting paid for an act where you don't even know which side it's hurting. But as
Right.
long as you got paid, it didn't matter to them. And I was like, okay, You're telling me this is a fictional island. It's a very Irish movie. There's a lot of Irish history. There's a civil war going on. It's the 1920s, and you have two friends who, like the Irish, were fighting amongst each other instead of tackling the things that they should have. And I was like, all right, there's a lot more to this. All I had to do was listen to one little interview. That's exactly what it is. I love movies that are able to take what is one area, one location, and have it be representative of a whole. How everyone in this town, and especially these two friends, indicate a history of Ireland, and especially the back and forth between the powers that be there. That I was like, oh, okay. The more I know about Irish history, the more I'm going to be able to understand this song that's playing in the background. I stay for the credits and I realize, oh, this is an oldie. I wonder what this represented during what wartime. The specific sayings that they say to each other. Fact is probably the best way. Like, he's got one on Marty there because Marty loves his F-bombs. But in Ireland, they're just so goofy.
Nothing quite like hearing it out of an Irish accent. Yeah, it's elevated for
on
sure.
Marty's, they sound rated R. Mark Wahlberg, when he says them, those are hard R's. Here, they sound like the most PG-13 F words I've ever heard in my life. They're so funny. It's some Nickelodeon Slime Time Live way of delivering those lines. But no, everyone just delivers there. I need to revisit it again. I didn't hate it in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted to be as enamored with it as you were. And there were points where it did get me, and my mind started going like, why is he doing this? And your mind starts trying to justify it, make sense of it. And it's specifically in those scenes when he visits the priest that I was just like, what is this indicative of as an artist, as a friend? What does it mean to be nice? Do we really matter if we're not here for centuries? And I don't know. I think the way that the movie plays out with it, I think left me with a lot more that I wanted to discuss rather than the jokes that I want to revisit from his previous films. And I think that's the only reason I'm separating Psychopaths and In Bruges to the conversations being had here.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, even though I think that ultimately I put this above any other film he's made before. There's just so much that I appreciate about whether it's the cadence between the characters. You know, I think you can hear some of his like stage writing influence in just the repetition of lines and the kind of like almost Greek chorus nature of all the different people on the island. I don't know. There's a lot that I really love about it, and it's also that element that you're talking about of how it does start with this simple thing where it's like these are two guys and they don't like you, they're figuring out this rift between them, but then there is all this other stuff like with whether it's reflecting the whole idea of like this is how we get led to wars and stuff like that, and how people destroy one another rather than working out their differences, or even just like the existential nature of how to live a life. I love not only how funny this was, but how much it made me kind of think and think about my own life. And to me, this is like a excellent film, one of my favorites of the year. I want to revisit it too, because like you said, there is a lot more there than just what's lying on the surface. But you know, we'll again, we got some after credits lined up for this one too, and it'll be fun to talk about it, dive a little bit more deeply.